Hello and welcome to our roundup of the European Parliament's latest plenary session here in Strasbourg. Among the main issues this week, the European Parliament says China is not a market economy, a new law to boost EU police cooperation, a proposal to improve the EU's asylum system, and another to combat tax avoidance. So let's begin with EU police cooperation. MEPs approved a new law to bolster police cooperation in the EU in the fight against terrorism and organised crime. Europol, the EU's agency for law enforcement cooperation, will now have new powers and capacity for action. Manfred, the president of the EPP Group, gave his view on the new law.
The people all over Europe are expecting security from the European level in times of terrorism, in times of organized crime, international organized crime. We need an European answer in security. And today is a good day for security because we are strengthening Europol. Our European agency for security on European level is now better prepared in the fight against terror and organized crime.
An Internet Referral Unit to counter-terrorism is a key part of the new Europol law. EPP Group MEP Agustin Diaz de Mera, the European Parliament's rapporteur on the EU regulation, explained more about it.
Ya ha sido experimentada a través de una fase de proceso piloto y ha dado muy buenos resultados. Muy buenos resultados porque puede detectar la propaganda yihadista y terrorista en la red y puede, a través de los servidores, neutralizarla.
Another novelty in the law is a specialized Cybercrime Unit at Europol.
Especializada en el cibercrimen, no específicamente en el cibercrimen vinculado al terror, sino en cualquier tipo de delito que tiene que ver con el anexo de Europol. Europol es competente para 30 delitos.
And a European Counterterrorism Centre that is already up and running will be institutionalised through the new law. Here, Mr. Diaz de Mera said cooperation between EU countries is needed to transmit information so that it can be processed, analysed and used to tackle and prevent terrorist attacks and crime. MEPs also approved a proposal to reform the EU's asylum system. The basic principle remains that asylum seekers must apply for asylum in the first EU country they enter. Dimitris Avramopoulos, the EU's Commissioner for Migration, spoke at a plenary debate on this issue.
Our proposal will allow establishing a sustainable and fair system for determining the member state responsible for asylum seekers.
A new fairness mechanism has been put forward to alleviate the pressure on EU countries who have a disproportionately large number of asylum applicants to deal with. Commissioner Avramopoulos explained more.
Once the number of asylum applications in a member state exceeds 150% of the allocated share based on GDP and population, the corrective mechanism will be automatically triggered. All new admissible applicants will then be shared proportionally between the other member states which are below their share.
MEP Roberta Metsola expressed the EPP Group's view on this.
The Commission's idea for a corrective fairness mechanism is a good step in the right direction in addressing this concern and will go some way in pushing forward a sustainable solution to disproportionate pressures faced at the external borders. However, I think that the Commission's idea for Member States to be able to pay their way out of the mechanism is provocative, and it does show just exactly how far away Member States still are from real sharing of responsibility.
Next, EU-China trade relations. MEPs debated a European Commission position on whether or not the EU should grant China market economy status. In a common resolution, all the political forces in the Parliament say that China is not a market economy and still needs to meet 5 EU criteria to become one. A key concern emerging from the plenary debate among MEPs was to ensure that China does not flood the EU with artificially cheap products subsidised by the state. Daniel Caspary is the EPP Group spokesman on the European Parliament's International Trade Committee. He said China is not yet ready to have market economy status.
We should not talk about market economy status because China definitely is not a market economy. It doesn't fulfill the criteria and it is not a market economy, it's a planned economy.
There is also a problem with the overproduction of Chinese steel producers causing harm to European economies. Here, Mr. Caspary said Europe needs to work out solutions with international partners, such as in the G7 and G20. Finally, MEPs voted on the first of a series of Commission proposals to combat tax avoidance. This one is about the mandatory and automatic exchange of tax information. Darius Rosati, the European Parliament's rapporteur on country-by-country reporting to tax authorities, explained more.
The new regulation aims at companies with a turnover of more than 750 million euro. The regulation requires those companies not only to table country-by-country reports on tax obligations, but also imposes an obligation on tax authorities of member states to exchange in an automatic way this information among themselves. Every tax authority in a member state will have the information on where tax are paid by multinational companies having business activities in more than one member state.
Regarding the need to increase transparency and fight tax fraud, the European Parliament's Conference of Presidents decided to set up a committee of inquiry to consider recent revelations in the Panama Papers in relation to tax evasion and money laundering. The EPP Group played a leading role in setting up the committee and determining its mandate. So that's it now from the Strasbourg session. See you next week in Brussels. And find out more about the European Parliament's largest political force by checking out eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching.